Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're going on a pretty fascinating, highly practical journey into ancient psychology. We're going to be looking at the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, but don't worry, we're leaving all the dense academic jargon right at the door. Instead, we're going to treat this profound tradition exactly as it was intended, as a literal survival guide for the human mind. So if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by your own thoughts, you are definitely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever felt like you're literally drowning in your own mind? Caught in this turbulent river of daily anxieties, endless to-do lists, and heavy emotions that just seem to pull you under. Well, thousands of years ago, ancient thinkers felt that exact same way, and they mapped out a really brilliant metaphor for this very modern feeling. So there's this incredible concept from the source text that says, Mohavarta, the whirlpool, is moha, delusion, conflict, because the more the desire is, the more the discriminative power is clouded. What this beautifully illustrates is how our daily emotional suffering is basically a powerful whirlpool. We all know the feeling, right? Your mind just goes round and round, spinning on those same worries. And the crazy part is, the harder you try to fight it, the deeper you get pulled down. You completely lose your clear thinking. Now, this spinning effect actually has a specific name. It's called vikshepa. It's defined as the deep-rooted tendency of the mind to run outward. Basically, it's sheer restlessness. It's that constant nagging urge to check your phone, to jump immediately to the next thought. Really, it's the total absence of any real attention span. This extroverted restlessness is the very water that makes up the whirlpool, and man, it exhausts us. But how do we actually escape it?
That brings us to Section 1, the fourfold qualified mind.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that before we can escape the whirlpool, we have to establish some ground rules. Because here's the hard truth. A calm mind just isn't natural. It has to be actively cultivated, kind of like preparing the soil in a garden before you plant any seeds. Think of these 4 practical Ds as your foundational survival kit, something you need before you even attempt to swim. First up is discrimination. That's distinguishing your real, ultimate goals from the fake, fleeting ones. Second is dispassion, which naturally follows. You don't destroy your everyday goals, you just reduce them to mere means, taking away their undue importance. Third is desire, an intense, burning longing for actual mental freedom. And finally, discipline, cultivating inner qualities like patience and open-mindedness to keep you on track.
Moving right along to Section 2, the seer and the seen.
Once your mind is prepped with that survival kit, you're ready to use the core psychological toolkit of this tradition, Drig Drishe Viveka. Basically, it's the discrimination between the observer and the observed. This is an incredibly effective distancing hack. Think about how we usually talk. We say, I am angry. When you say that, you're literally identifying at the emotion. The anger becomes you, and you become the victim of the whirlpool. But what if you shift that? What if you say, I am aware of anger? Just simply changing your internal language instantly reduces the intensity of the emotion. You become the witness. The anger becomes just an object floating by in the river. It's a real game changer. So, what happens when the whirlpool suddenly tries to pull you under in real time? You use this highly practical 4-step damage control sequence. Step 1, distance. Say to yourself, I am aware of anger, and take 3 deep breaths. Step 2, do not express. Seriously, do not speak or act physically, because words used in anger only wound, they never actually communicate. Step 3, abhivava, or blunting the emotion. Remind yourself that you are the unattached observer. And step 4, thought displacement. Use a repetitive mantra or thought to literally displace the angry thought from your mind, starving the whirlpool of its fuel. To make this an automatic habit, the texts recommend a daily divers technique. You progressively withdraw your attention from the gross physical layers down to the subtle. You start at the physical body, I am not the body, I observe it. Then you move inward to your breath and thoughts. I am not the thought, I observe it. Deeper still to the intellect, I am not the intellect. Until you reach the very bottom of the dive, a stage of deep peace and pure silent awareness. And even here, you remind yourself, I am the knower of peace. You always remain the ultimate witness.
All right, Section 3, the chain of karma yoga.
Now, observing the mind is great and all, but we still have to actually live and work in the real world, right? Which brings us to karma yoga. And forget the idea of karma as some abstract cosmic destiny. It's practically our first physical lifeline in the turbulent river. I absolutely love this metaphor from the source text. Imagine bathing in a fast-flowing river. The authorities have bolted heavy iron chains to the shore. Before you enter the water, you grab the chain.
Offering your actions to something higher, doing your duty but letting go of the results, is that heavy iron chain. It keeps you grounded so you aren't swept away by the inevitable failures, rejections, or even the massive successes of life.
So, the crucial point here is that holding this chain of karma yoga directly improves your emotional health. And the texts even give us a measurable metric for this. They call it the FIR metric. F stands for frequency. How often do you get disturbed? I is intensity. How strong is the emotional reaction? And R is recovery. How quickly do you bounce back to normal? As you practice offering your actions and accepting whatever results come, you will literally watch your FIR numbers drop. Which brings us to section 4, the adhikārī of Upasana yoga. Holding the chain keeps you safe, for sure, but to truly navigate the currents of the mind, you need a tool. You need Upasana yoga. The text paints another brilliant picture for us. You're in a boat caught in the river, surrounded by whirlpools. You actually have an oar, but you don't know how to use it. Upasana yoga is that oar. It's the practice of deep, active meditation that allows us to cut right through the whirlpool's spin by building really powerful, one-pointed concentration. The mechanics of using this oar are simple, but, well, not exactly easy. You deliberately replace physical, extroverted activity with focused, inward, mental activity. By taking your attention away from those endless external distractions and fixing it on a single internal point, like a mantra or a visualization, you literally starve the whirlpool of its energy. The spinning slows down, the mind becomes sharp, clear, and ready. And finally, section 5, you are the water. And this brilliantly illustrates the final, most profound shift, where our psychological toolkit blossoms into ultimate philosophical recognition. This is the practice of nididhyasana. It's profound, repeated contemplation. Think of your mind like a tightly twisted telephone wire. It's been conditioned by years of habits to constantly spin into anxiety and fear. Nididhyasana is the systematic untwisting of that wire. It permanently deconditions the mind, turning all this intellectual knowledge into a spontaneous, living reality. Through this contemplation, you undergo a massive paradigm shift. Normally, we think in what's called a triangular format. We tell ourselves, I am a limited person, I am seeking liberation, I must do all these things to finally reach the ocean. But the truth is actually the binary format. I am the limitless ocean right now. The whirlpool of my mind is just a temporary appearance inside of me. There is absolutely no gap between you and your ultimate nature. Let's move to and see how this builds into an incredibly beautiful realization from the text. The wave says, I am water with an incidental form. So whether the wave is high or low, whether it is rising or falling, the water remains the same. You were never the whirlpool, you are the water. The anxiety, the restlessness, the thoughts, they're just temporary shapes the water is taking. So I want to leave you with this final thought. You've been fighting the whirlpool your whole life. You've been exhausted by the spinning. What happens when you finally stop fighting and realize you're just the water? Take that thought with you today, practice being the witness, and just watch how the currents of your life begin to change. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to dive into our next topic together.